Okay, so imagine this scenario for a second. You are at the absolute top of your professional game. You've been practicing law for, what, 15 years. You have the corner office with the panoramic skyline view, the impressive degree on the wall, a reputation for being absolutely bulletproof. It's
Yeah.
Monday morning, 9:47 a.m. exactly. You're sipping your coffee, you're reviewing a motion, feeling like you own the week, and then your paralegal appears in your doorway.
Mhm.
And he isn't just standing there. He's holding his phone up like it's an unpinned grenade.
We all know that look.
Right.
That is the universal face of, I'm about to ruin your life, please don't kill the messenger.
It really is.
Yeah.
And in this case, the grenade, it actually went off. This is the situation Elena Rodriguez found herself in. She's the central figure of the research we're covering today. Her paralegal, Jason, he drops the bomb.
A highly sensitive settlement agreement. We are talking financial details, custody arrangements, the absolute works has leaked.
Which, for an attorney, is not just a bad Monday. That's a career-ending event. Reaching attorney-client privilege is, it's the cardinal sin. It gets messier. Elena had emailed this document to her client, Mrs. Harrison.
Okay.
Mrs. Harrison forwarded it to her sister for a second opinion, which happens all the time. The sister took a screenshot and posted it on a public divorce support forum.
Yeah.
And now, it's everywhere. It's just out there.
And that specific feeling, that cold dread in the pit of your stomach, is exactly where we need to start today. Because this isn't just a story about a lawyer having a nightmare scenario. This is a story about the digital vault. We're looking at a really fascinating breakdown from MoreMax over at www.moremax.net titled Building the Digital Vault, Safeguarding Attorney-Client Privilege.
And the mission for this deep dive is pretty clear. We want to understand how we mistakenly think we're secure in the digital age, and how the architecture of the internet basically laughs at our assumptions. Because even if you aren't a lawyer, you handle secrets. You've got tax returns, medical records, passwords.
Spot on. The source material for MoreMax frames this beautifully. It argues that we treat digital privacy like it's a physical wall. We think, I sent it to you, so only you have it. But in the digital world, those walls are often invisible, or worse, they're purely imaginary.
So let's go back to Elena in that doorway. She's panic-stricken.
Yeah.
Her first defense, the thing she keeps repeating to herself, is, I just sent it as an email attachment. That's standard practice, right? She's been doing it that way for 15 years. Everyone does it.
And therein lies the trap. Standard practice is often just, habitual negligence that hasn't been punished yet. Alina calls in IT, specifically a cybersecurity consultant named Marcus Chen, and this consultation is the first major pivot point. Marcus has to sit her down and explain that the way she's been communicating for a decade is fundamentally broken.
He shows her a diagram of the email journey, and I think this is where most of us get it wrong. I tend to imagine email like a pneumatic tube, like at the bank drive-through. I put the capsule in here, it shoots through a sealed pipe and lands on your desk, a direct, protected line.
That is the common misconception. But Marcus explains the internet doesn't have direct lines. It has hop points. When Elena hit send, that agreement didn't just teleport to Mrs. Harrison, it left her firm's server. It likely hopped through an ISP server. It landed on Mrs. Harrison's mail server. If she opened it on her work Wi-Fi, it might be cached on her employer's proxy server.
So it's not one copy moving from A to B. It's a copy being cloned at A, B, C, D, and E.
Correct. And it's likely backed up in the cloud at every single one of those stops. Marcus uses an analogy here that I think is brilliant, and it's the core image for this entire deep dive. He tells Elena, sending a privileged document via standard email is like putting it in a clear plastic envelope and dropping it in a mailbox.
That is such a visceral image, a clear plastic envelope.
It perfectly illustrates the problem. Sure, you might write confidential in big red letters on the document inside, but the mail carrier can read it. The sorter at the post office can read it.
The neighbor who accidentally gets it.
Exactly. The protocol for email SMTP was never designed for privacy. It was designed for delivery reliability. It wants the message to be readable by the systems handling it.
So Marcus's point is that privilege doesn't encrypt the file. The law says nobody should read it, but the technology allows anyone who intercepts it to read it.
Exactly. So Elena is staring at this diagram, realizing she's been sending clear plastic envelopes for 15 years. And she asks the obvious question. So we stop communicating. Do we go back to courier pigeons?
Which obviously isn't an option. The legal world moves way too fast. So this introduces the first pillar of the digital vault, end-to-end encryption, or E2EE. Now, we hear this buzzword a lot. WhatsApp uses it, Signal uses it. But what does it actually mean in a professional context?
Marcus breaks it down into two states. You have data at rest and data in transit. Encryption at rest means the file is scrambled when it's sitting on your hard drive. Most people have this by default now. If you steal my laptop but don't have my password, the drive looks like garbage. But encryption in transit, that's the hard part.
Because that's when it leaves the castle walls.
Exactly. In transit, encryption means the file is scrambled the moment it leaves your computer and stays scrambled until it hits the recipient's eyes. It travels through all those servers, the ISP, the cloud, as a locked box.
So going back to the clear plastic envelope, this is like putting the document in a titanium lockbox before mailing it.
A titanium lockbox where only the client has the key, not the post office, not the delivery truck, not the nosy neighbor. Even if they steal the box, they can't see what's inside.
So practically speaking, how does Elena do this? Does she have to teach her clients how to use complex PGP keys or something? Because I can tell you, clients will hate that. If it's hard, they won't use it.
No, and Marcus knows that. If the security is too hard to use, people will bypass it. That's a fundamental rule of cybersecurity. So he implements a client portal.
Okay, walk us through the workflow. How does this change her routine?
Instead of attaching a Word doc to an email, Elena uploads the file to a secure web portal. She sends an email to the client, but the email doesn't have the file. It just says, you have a new secure document. Click here.
So the document never actually travels through the email system. The email is just a notification.
Precisely. The client clicks the link, they have to log in. And crucially, Marcus enforces two-factor authentication, 2FA.
That's the code sent to your phone, right? Something you know, something you have.
Exactly. Even if a hacker guesses Mrs. Harrison's password, they don't have her physical phone. Once she gets in, the browser decrypts the file locally. It's a closed loop. The clear plastic envelope is gone.
That sounds airtight. But reading through the MoreMax material, there's this creeping sense that Elena is missing something else, something invisible inside the files themselves.
The hidden threat. This is where the horror movie music should start playing. Elena thinks she's solved the problem with encryption, but Marcus pulls up a Word document and asks her, what do you see?
She sees the text, the clauses, the signature lines, the stuff you print out.
Right, but then Marcus opens the inspector tool in the software, and suddenly the screen is full of data that wasn't there a second ago. We're talking about metadata.
I think most people know metadata is, like the author's name and the date created. Is it really that dangerous?
That's just the tip of the iceberg. Marcus explains that modern documents, like docs files, are actually bundles of XML code. Inside that code, there's a history. He shows her that there are deleted comments.
Wait, deleted. If I delete a comment, it's gone. I hit backspace.
Visually, it's gone, but often the software just flags it as hidden rather than actually scrubbing the data from the code. Marcus tells a story about an attorney who sent a brief to opposing counsel. The other side looked at the metadata and found a deleted comment from a senior partner that said, "This argument is weak. Let's hope they don't notice the precedent in Smith v. Jones."
Oh, wow. You are literally handing the other side your playbook. That is catastrophic.
It's like sending a letter where you erased something, but the indentation is still there. If you hold it up to the light, or in this case, use a metadata viewer, you can read everything.
So the digital vault isn't just about the walls. It's about cleaning the items before you put them inside.
Exactly. Elena has to implement mandatory scrubbing software. Every brief, every contract is run through a tool that strips out everything. It flattens the file so it's just the final text and nothing else.
So we have the encryption, we have the scrubbing. Now comes the hardest part of any transformation.
The people.
The people.
Technology is easy. Psychology is hard.
Elena calls a firm-wide meeting. 15 attorneys and staff in the conference room. She lays down the law. No more email attachments, period. And according to the source, the temperature in the room drops about 20 degrees.
Of course it does. Lawyers live on efficiency. Anything that slows them down is the enemy. And there's always that one senior partner in this story. It's Graham.
Good old Graham. The resistor.
Graham asks the question everyone's thinking. What about quick questions? If a client just wants a one-page summary, do I really have to force them through a portal? They're going to be annoyed.
It's a fair pushback. Convenience is addictive. We all want the path of least resistance.
It is addictive. But Elena draws a hard line. She says, you use the portal or you don't send it digitally. Pick one. She realizes if you leave a loophole, eventually everything becomes a quick question. But then she pivots to something even more controversial, the issue of data retention.
This was the part that surprised me. I assume lawyers keep everything forever. Create a paper trail, right?
That's the instinct. We're all digital hoarders. Elena asks the room, who has files from cases that closed 10 years ago? Every hand goes up. They think they're being diligent. But Elena drops a truth bomb on them. Storage is a liability.
That is such a powerful reframing. We think of storage as an asset, a library.
In the physical world, maybe? In the digital world, every old file is a potential breach point. Elena uses a case study from a Chicago firm to scare them straight.
All right, the Chicago hack. What happened there?
The hackers didn't go after active cases. They dug into the archives. They found divorce filings, bankruptcy proceedings from 20 years ago. The clients had moved on, built new lives, and suddenly their darkest secrets were leaked.
And the firm was liable.
17 malpractice claims. The argument was, you had no business holding on to that data anymore. The case was over.
That is terrifying. You can be sued for hoarding.
So Elena implements a retention and destruction policy, 7 years, the statute of limitations +1, and then forensic level wiping.
I want to pause on forensic level.
Yeah.
Why not just drag it to the recycling bin?
Because dragging a file to the recycling bin doesn't actually delete the data. Think of a hard drive like a book. When you delete a file, you aren't tearing out the page. You're just erasing the entry in the table of contents. The computer says, okay, this space is available, but until something else is written there, the original text is still on the page.
So a hacker could just scan the empty pages and read the old files?
Easily. A forensic tool can bring that file back in seconds. Forensic wiping is different. It means writing zeros and ones over the same sector multiple times. It's like scribbling over the page with a thick black marker.
So Elena is turning the ship around. She's building the vault. But then the universe decides to test her. We move to Thursday, 3 Brasher, 0 p.m. The phone rings.
And it is the FBI, Agent Patricia Keene.
This is where the story turns into a legal thriller. Agent Keene is investigating a client, David Harrison, for fraud. She demands access to his communications, and she plays the trump card. We can get a warrant for your server.
This is the ultimate stress test. In the old days, the clear plastic envelope days, this was game over. If the FBI seized the server, they had the emails, they could read everything.
But Elena doesn't flinch. She doesn't panic like she did on Monday.
She doesn't. She essentially tells the agent, be my guest.
That takes some nerve, telling the FBI, go ahead.
It's not nerve. It's confidence in the architecture. She explains that their communications are end-to-end encrypted. Even if the FBI seizes the physical rack, all they'll see is gibberish, alphanumeric soup.
Because the firm doesn't have the key.
The firm has a key, but the system is compartmentalized. And this is the crucial concept. Privilege is built into the code. It's not just a legal argument anymore, it's a mathematical reality. Elena explains that she literally cannot give them the readable files in a bulk dump because the architecture prevents it.
She constructed a digital fortress where the physics of the software enforce the law.
Precisely. The FBI agent pauses, realizes this isn't going to be a simple grab and go, and says, we'll be in touch. Elena won the round because she was relying on math.
But she isn't out of the woods yet. Because Friday rolls around, and remember the original problem, the leak. Mrs. Harrison calls back.
And she is furious. Her ex-husband's lawyer has filed a motion in court based on the screenshots from that forum.
This is exactly what Elena feared. The leak is being weaponized against her client.
But here comes the twist, and honestly, this is my favorite part of the MoreMax story. Mrs. Harrison says something odd. She says, they got the numbers wrong.
What do you mean?
She looks at the filing and realizes the screenshots on the forum were edited. Someone took the leak, photoshopped the settlement numbers to make them look less favorable, and then reposted them. The opposing counsel is basing their motion on fake evidence.
Oh, wow. But wait, how does Elena prove that? It's her word against the internet.
This is where the audit log comes in.
Okay, explain the audit log. I usually ignore those logs. They just look like lines of code.
You shouldn't ignore them. An audit log is a digital notary. It records every single event. Who logged in, when, from what IP address, and critically, the hash of the file they downloaded.
A hash. Break that down for us.
Think of a hash like a digital fingerprint. It's a unique string of characters generated by the file's contents. If you change one comma or one number, the hash changes completely, a totally different fingerprint.
So Elena can compare the fingerprints.
Exactly. Elena pulls up the logs. She can prove, mathematically, that the only authentic copy of the agreement was downloaded by the client on the 15th. She has the hash of that download.
And that authentic file matches her version, not the fake one online.
Correct. She creates a chain of custody that is unbreakable. She can walk into court and say, Your Honor, this evidence is a fabrication and I have the server logs to prove it.
That is incredible. So the security measures didn't just keep the secret, They authenticated the truth.
That's the aha moment. Without the portal, without the logs, it would have been a he said, she said mess. But with the digital vault, Elena has non-repudiation. That's the technical term. You cannot deny the action. She can prove the truth.
Talk about snatching victory from the jaws of defeat.
It completely flips the script. It shows that security isn't just about hiding things. It's about integrity. It's about being able to rely on the data.
So let's fast forward. The story in MoreMax jumps 3 months ahead. Elena is presenting at the State Bar Conference. She's gone from victim to expert.
And she gives a speech that I think summarizes the philosophy of this whole deep dive. She tells the room, "We are not just lawyers anymore. We are guardians of digital secrets."
I love that line. It elevates the responsibility. It makes it sound noble, not just technical.
It does. She compares the old days locked cabinets breaking a window to steal files to today. Today, files travel through networks, across borders, into clouds. The threats have evolved, so the defenses have to evolve.
And she summarizes the 4 pillars of the vault, right?
Yes. If you're taking notes, and you should be, here's the recipe from the MoreMax source. 1. End-to-end encryption for everything, no exceptions. 2. Secure portals, never email attachments. 3. Automated metadata scrubbing for every document leaving the building. And 4. Ruthless data retention policies. Delete it when you don't need it and wipe it forensically.
It sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah.
And in the story, there's an older attorney who says, "Isn't this overkill? I've practiced for 30 years without all this and I'm fine."
Ah, yes. Survivor bias. I haven't been hit by a bus yet, so I don't need to look both ways. Elena's response is perfect. She says, the clear plastic envelope era is over. You haven't been hit yet, but you are standing in the middle of the highway.
It really makes you think. We rely so heavily on these tools, but we rarely look under the hood.
And I want to leave the listener with a thought here. We've been talking about lawyers, but let's zoom out. You're listening to this, and maybe you aren't a lawyer, but you are a client.
Right. I have a doctor, an accountant, a real estate agent, people who hold my life in their computers.
Exactly. When your accountant sends you your tax return, the one with your social security number, your address, your income, how do they send it?
Yeah. Usually just a PDF attached to an email.
Yeah.
Maybe they password protected if I'm lucky, but usually not.
And as we learned, that is a clear plastic envelope.
Yikes. Okay, that really hits home.
It should. If professionals like Elena, who have a legal, ethical duty to protect secrets, are barely catching up to this, how vulnerable is your own personal data right now? That medical record in your sent folder, that scan of your passport you emailed to yourself 3 years ago.
All just sitting there,
Yeah.
waiting for a breach.
Waiting for someone to open the envelope. So the lesson isn't just for the legal world. We all need to start thinking about building our own digital vaults.
That is a sobering thought to end on, but a necessary one. We need to take responsibility for our digital footprints.
Absolutely. Trust, but verify the encryption.
Well, this has been an eye-opener. A huge thank you to MoreMax for providing the source material for this deep dive. If you want to read the full technical breakdown, head over to www.moremax.net. It is definitely worth a read.
Highly recommended. It is a masterclass in modern privacy.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Stay curious and stay secure. We'll see you on the next deep dive.